Warning, this video contains graphic images of a mysterious source called electricity. Hey y'all, I am James Wright and welcome to my shop. This is going to be the first video in a series of videos on shop renovation. And I'm going to be going through all sorts of different details on lighting and tool storage and organization, and I'm even going to be building my own primary bench, as I'm going to be using this as a secondary bench. So there's going to be a lot of things like that about, what do you do when you set up your shop, and thinking through that process. So hopefully this series will be kind of useful for you. But in this one I actually want to talk about lighting. It's something that is kind of overlooked in the woodworking world, but can be extremely important. It's one of those things that you don't know that you're missing until you experience it. So I want to kind of go into some of the details of what I use in the new shop space. So first off, I want to show you what I had been using in the past. These are standard T8 fixtures. They're your normal shop cheap fixtures, and they, on the books, put out a good amount of lumens. The problem with them is that because the bulbs are round, half of the lumens are directed up into the fixture, which then get absorbed. Yes, I know it's white, it should reflect it, but you're really only getting about 50 to 30% of the lumens out of these fixtures. They aren't as good as they are on paper, but they're decent, and for the price you really can't beat them. Most of the time you can get these for like 15 to 20 bucks a piece for the dirt cheap ones, but they're okay. And for the budget conscious, these work fine. For the theater shop, I actually have these two soft boxes. They are both fluorescent tube boxes, and they just provide a direct feed. And I think that even if I didn't have a video channel, I would still use these boxes. The reason I would still use these boxes is because if I'm leaning over my work, this light up above me is going to cover what I'm doing below, and I don't get to see it as well. These boxes raking in across actually give me a really nice feel so that I can feel all the way across. Now the problem with this setup is I would need a ton of these fixtures to cover this whole room, which I can do because eventually that back wall will become my shop space, and we'll get to see that over the next few weeks. But I really don't like them. They are a pain, and over time they dim, and they're just not, well, they're not cost effective in the long run, and they're annoying, especially with video. They kind of strobe, and if you have any issue at all with headaches and things like that, that strobing can kind of get on your nerves, and you don't want that. This shop should be a place of zen and comfort and enjoyment, and so fluorescent really isn't a great option. It's cheap, but it's not a great option. So let me show you what I got for the shop. So here is the shop as it currently is, and this is the shop with the new lights. And you can see there is a dramatic difference in the quality of the light and in the thoroughness of how it is lit. So actually let me go into showing you what specifically I'm using. So basically right now with any shop you have three options. You have incandescent, you have fluorescent, and you have LED. Incandescent is going to cost you the most in the long run. They're expensive to run. They're cheap up front, but they're expensive to run. And nowadays they're harder to get, especially for shop lighting. The fluorescent tubes are kind of the cheap in option. You can get them really darn cheap. But again, they are comparatively inefficient and just not... They have so many problems over the long run that, in my mind, they're not worth it. Whereas an LED light is something that is going to last you for a long time. It is going to be extremely reliable. Once they're in, they're done. They use so little electricity that it's almost not even worth taking a measurement on. They are phenomenal fixtures for the money, and that is why I'm going to end up going with LEDs. Now, American Greenlight gave me these LEDs, and to which I want to say a huge thank you. But this video is not actually sponsored by them, and they haven't told me anything to say. They just gave me the lights to hang in the shop, and I am extremely thankful for that. But actually, let me go into some of the little details about these lights and why I like them and chose them. They have two different options here. This one is more like the standard shop light. It is the same form factor as my fluorescent shop lights, but has LEDs in it, and I love how it's set up. You can actually get a direct wire with 110 as opposed to low voltage, and then you have these other lower form factors that you run with a doorbell wire on a low voltage. These are fantastic for basement, but these shop lights give you an immense amount of light in a small area, and I have this one over top of where my bench will be, so I don't have to worry about hitting on my head because my bench will be right there. Now I have to say I'm sorry for the quality of lighting currently. If I turned these on, my camera wouldn't work. I can point my camera at the fluorescent bulb, I cannot point it at these. Now this is a track from American Greenlight, which I absolutely love, and it only sticks down a ½ inch from the joist here, which is fantastic for me in the basement, so I'm not hitting my head. They don't take up any more space in the basement. I can put them straight on to the stud. They have they're a low voltage, so you can actually power them with a doorbell wire, which you can run anywhere and very easily and very effectively. And they just adhere on, and you put 2 screws in, and voila, it's up and hanging. And they are phenomenal. On the books, they put out about as much as one of these T8 fixtures. But because all of the LEDs are aiming straight down, you get an enormous amount more light out of them in actuality. So let me turn this on and show you what actually happens. And just so you can see, with them off and then with them on, yeah, you can see why I'm not pointing this at them with them on normally. Let me talk a moment about color. You've heard a lot of people saying that you need to get daylight fixtures. And I have to say that is a load of hogwash. Throw it out the window. You can have whatever color you want. Currently I'm under what is a very warm color. It's matching most traditional incandescent colors. And now over here I am in the American Greenlight LED lighting. This is actually a much cooler color. This is much closer to daylight. And so you can kind of see the difference. I haven't changed the settings on my camera, so you can see the difference between the warm yellow and the bluish cool. Really, does one matter over the other? No, not at all. Your eyes are naturally adjusting one to the other. If you have both colors in the shop, you can very easily see the difference. If you don't have both colors in the shop, you will naturally adjust to one or the other. Now, if you're shooting video like I am, that becomes extremely important because you don't want the camera to bounce back and forth between these two, where you have the blue and you have the yellow. But yeah, for general use, whatever you want, it works. The general rule of thumb is that the daylight color is kind of, it's happy and it's go get 'em, and it makes you want to do things. It gets you a little bit more excited. Whereas the warm incandescent light is very soft, it's very easygoing, it's very mellow. So if you want to be in the shop and you really want to calm down and let it all drop down, then a warmer incandescent color might work better for you. Now let me actually talk about the use of the lights in the shop and how exactly they work. Eventually this will become the backdrop for the shop, and I'll have my bench here in front of me. And so I'm planning out where the lighting will be with where I want my tools to be, so that I know that if I'm leaning over the bench right here, I don't want the light behind me shining down. I want the light on top of me. I actually want the light slightly in forward, which I have this one right up here, which will be lighting at an angle down on. So even if I lean over the work, I still have light coming down on. You really want to think about that. Now, a lot of people want to have very focused task lighting, so that when they're working in one area, they can really kind of concentrate on that one area and not have to worry about, what else is going on, so you're not over lighting the space. And one of the fantastic things with this, with the doorbell wire, is I can split up this into separate zones, and I do have this in separate zones. I have a lighting section here, I have a lighting section over there, I have a lighting section over there, so I'll have one over just the bench, then I'll have one just over the secondary bench, and I'll have one just over where I have the lathe. And I can actually do task lighting with this, as opposed to having focused lights or running main wire everywhere for the switches on and off. So this really gives me the flexibility to put these strips anywhere I want them in the shop and kind of make it the way I want it to be. One of the big concerns, though, about LED lighting is the electrical. They're low voltage, which makes it fantastic for wiring, but then you have to put a power supply into it. And I want to show you how simple that really is. But I do want to say, leave the electrician to the specialist, and they will help you out far better than I can. And don't do any wiring on anything that I would say. This is not a how-to on wiring. This is just what I have done here, and you can do it at your own risk in your own shop with your own way, but make sure you have an electrician. So in here I actually have this secondary panel where I have the power coming in, and then it runs to these power supplies. And these power supplies then actually reduce the voltage from the 110 down to a lower voltage for the LEDs. So this one here will run 2 of the small strips, whereas these ones will run 4 of the larger strips. So depending upon how many strips you have, depends upon how many of these power supplies you're going to have in the wiring system. The other thing I want to say about electricity is check your local code, and don't go by any word that I say here, because the code matters and this video doesn't for that sake. Now, some of you are going to ask, why do I still have these fluorescent lights hanging here? And that's because I haven't switched around my shop. Once I switch around the shop, those are disappearing. I'll probably be using them down at the other end of the house for some other odd purpose. But this will be completely LED once I have the shop switched around. But yeah, I hope you have liked this. This has been kind of a fun one. I'll leave links to American Greenlight and more information on these LEDs. They have a really good website, and actually he will go through and design your space. And I actually sent him a floor plan of what I had, and he laid out where all the lighting should be and showed how it was a really, really cool system. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, definitely go check out American Greenlight. Even if he didn't give these to me, these are what I would have purchased. And I'm not just saying that. They are phenomenal, and yeah, this is the ultimate shop lighting in my mind. So yeah, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please hit like and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, I want to say an incredible thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are the reason why this shop continues and why we're going to have videos like this for a long time in the future. If you'd like to help out with that, you can click the link right over here. Also, if you like this video, feel free to check out one of my others. You might find something you like there. And until next time, have a wonderful day.